We've worked with over 175 restaurants around the world, from the Middle East, New Zealand, out in Hawaii, coast to coast, north and south, worked in Canada, worked in Europe, all kind of out of this little warehouse in Burlington that if you drove by it, you wouldn't know that that's what's going on. Hand is a pottery studio based in Burlington, North Carolina, where we hand make porcelain items for the home and for restaurants.
Well done. Both initials.
Mark and I both came into this with a sense that what we did with our lives mattered more than just having a JOB.
Oh wow, is that it? That's it.
The early days of Hand were pretty scrappy, maybe destitute, dismal at times.
We worked, everything was done outside. I remember we were working under a persimmon tree and the persimmons would be falling out of the tree. We nearly got struck by lightning that time. When you're working underneath constraint and when you have limited resources, it doesn't mean that you're limited.
I'm always blown away by people's willingness to be brave. And the things that they do, the plates that they make are brave. In my business, primarily what you see are people trying to be as perfect as they possibly can because they want to hide behind the artifice of perfection rather than to expose their humanity and what they're trying to create.
These are hand-finished plates, so not each plate's going to be identical to the next. Each one looks different and they all stand out from each other.
I'm sort of thinking of a form for a long time. I'll just sort of be thinking about the outlines of the piece and I'll make drawings. And then I make a block of something and start to kind of carve it out of that.
What I appreciate about Mark is that he's not concerned about trying to execute the drawing that he started with. He's comfortable letting that evolve. The way that something feels in your hand is considered in the design, where we are in the business of trying to make timeless objects that aren't based on trend and that are intended to be used over a lifetime and be heirloom quality. And when you start with that mission, you need to make the product durable. Porcelain is a wonderful material for that because it's a very fine clay that when it fires, it shrinks significantly, it becomes very dense, much denser than most other clays. And that density is what gives it a lot of strength.
When they filled the mold with the porcelain slip and then clean it up after it's dried, everybody has sort of their own unique way of adding to each piece. That's the beauty of society and knowing people, is that anytime you're talking to someone, it's going to be a different perspective. Each piece being unique, I think, sort of captures that. The casters put a chop mark on the bottom of each piece. It's a recognition of their role in the process and how important their skill and their craft is to the final piece.
When you go and spend time with Chris and Mark on site and talk with them about the various plateware, know that they have spent countless hours working with folks who think about food 24 hours a day and think about how folks experience it.
You'll notice that this bowl has these steep sides. Those steep sides holds the heat in. It makes the aromas come straight up out of the bowl. These are things that are very specific, that are not the generic pasta bowl.
We've produced over 3,000 different things over the last few years. 174 of them are on our website. There's so many things that we have here that are limited edition, small batch. You can look at a piece and say, oh, I like this piece, but I like this color. Can you make that for me? And the answer is always yes.
A picture or like a video of something doesn't quite show like the whole story. You have to be able to pick it up and feel it.
Hand's showroom and studio is at 413 Tucker Street in Burlington, and it's open to visitors by appointment only. So give them a call at 336-350 7957. Hand hopes to resume guided group tours in the second half of 2021, so check their website for updates and browse their collections online at hand.us.